It's 11:47 at night. You finally sit down after a long day, and your dog, who was asleep just seconds ago, suddenly explodes across the living room like a furry missile. Their paws slam against the hardwood floor. They sprint from couch to hallway, ricochet off the carpet, spin in a perfect circle, then launch themselves onto the sofa with the energy of an animal possessed. And you laugh because everybody laughs at Zoomies. People call it the crazies. Too much energy. A goofy dog being goofy. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. Because what your dog is doing right now is one of the most complex expressions of emotional regulation in the animal kingdom. Those chaotic bursts of running, spinning, and frantic movement may actually be your dog's nervous system trying to release psychological tension. And most owners have no idea. Let's start with the "they just have extra energy" theory because it sounds reasonable. Your dog has been resting, now they want to move. Simple. And sometimes, yes, exercise absolutely plays a role. Puppies, especially, experience bursts of physical energy because their developing nervous systems fluctuate rapidly between stimulation and fatigue. But here's the problem. Zoomies don't happen randomly. They happen in patterns. After baths, after stressful vet visits, after guests leave the house, after intense excitement, after being restrained, after moments of overstimulation. And sometimes, strangely, right after your dog wakes up from a deep sleep. If Zoomies were simply about having too much energy, your dog could release that energy in dozens of calmer ways. They could chew a toy, walk around, stretch, sniff the floor, pace slowly. So, why the explosive sprinting? Why the sudden, almost uncontrollable release? The answer has less to do with exercise and far more to do with emotional decompression. In animal behavior science, these episodes are often classified under something called FRAPs, Frenetic Random Activity Periods. And despite the funny name, researchers increasingly believe FRAPs are connected to nervous system regulation. Your dog isn't just acting crazy. They may be physically discharging stress, excitement, or emotional overload from the body itself. And this is where it gets deep. Because mammals, including humans, don't only process emotions mentally. We process them physically. In 2013, researchers from the University of Bristol studying canine behavior observed that high-arousal situations frequently preceded Zoomie episodes in domestic dogs. Not aggression, not dominance, arousal. That includes excitement, stress, anticipation, uncertainty, and overstimulation. And what they found was extraordinary. Dogs often entered FRAP episodes immediately after the stressful event had ended. Not during, after. Which suggests Zoomies may function as a nervous system reset. Now think about that for a second. Your dog gets through a stressful bath, their body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, their muscles stay tense, their nervous system remains activated. Then suddenly, they sprint,
spin,
leap across furniture, and within minutes, they calm down completely. That pattern looks remarkably similar to stress discharge behaviors seen across mammals. In fact, researchers at Stanford University studying trauma responses in animals found that many mammals physically shake, sprint, or tremble after surviving high-stress situations. Humans often suppress these responses socially. Dogs don't. And when your dog zooms across the room after an emotionally intense moment, they may be performing one of the oldest biological recovery systems on Earth. They're not misbehaving. They're regulating. Because this isn't just psychology, it's chemistry. In 2015, a landmark study from Asabi University in Japan, led by Dr. Miho Nagasawa, examined the oxytocin relationship between dogs and humans. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It's associated with trust, attachment, emotional safety, and social connection. The researchers measured oxytocin levels in both dogs and owners before and after interaction, and what they found stunned the scientific community. When bonded dogs made prolonged eye contact with their humans, oxytocin levels increased in both species. Not just the dog, the human too, by over 100% in some cases. This created what researchers called a positive oxytocin feedback loop. And here's why that matters for Zoomies. High emotional arousal, whether positive or stressful, activates powerful neurochemical systems inside the brain. excitement after you come home, relief after stress, anticipation before play. These emotional spikes create physiological activation throughout the body. And dogs, unlike humans, often process those surges through movement. Running, spinning, bouncing. The body literally helps complete the emotional cycle. Now compare that to wolves. Wolves absolutely play, but they don't exhibit the same frequency of human-triggered FRAP behavior seen in domestic dogs.
Why?
Because domestic dogs co-evolved specifically alongside humans over approximately 15,000 years. Their emotional systems became deeply synchronized with ours. Your mood affects your dog's chemistry. Your stress affects their cortisol levels. Your excitement changes their behavior. And when emotional intensity builds too high, Zoomies may act as a biological pressure valve. Now think about what happens after your dog has spent hours emotionally monitoring your environment, watching your tone, your movement, your routines, your stress. Then suddenly the tension breaks. The nervous system releases, and your living room becomes a racetrack. The answer is basically from the beginning. Long before cities, before agriculture, before written language. Somewhere between 15,000 and 30,000 years ago, early wolves began approaching human campsites. Not aggressive wolves, the calmer ones, the curious ones, the ones genetically less reactive to fear. Researchers from Harvard University and the Max Planck Institute believe humans unconsciously selected animals that could emotionally tolerate proximity, unpredictability, and social cooperation. Over generations, those animals changed biologically, not just behaviorally. Their stress systems changed, their social cognition changed, their attachment systems changed. And eventually, those proto-dogs became emotionally intertwined with humans in ways no other species ever has. Archaeological evidence supports this deeply. In Bonnober Castle, Germany, researchers discovered a 14,000-year-old burial site containing a human buried beside a dog. But here's the extraordinary part. The dog had survived severe illness as a puppy, likely canine distemper, meaning humans cared for it intensively for weeks. These weren't just working animals. They were family. And genetic studies from Princeton University have identified changes in genes associated with stress processing and sociability in domestic dogs compared to wolves, including alterations connected to hypersocial behavior. Your dog isn't doing something unusual when they sprint wildly through the house after emotional stimulation. They're expressing a nervous system shaped by thousands of years of coexisting with emotionally unpredictable humans. Because the finding seems impossible at first. In 2021, researchers from Lorand University in Hungary examined post-stress recovery behaviors in domestic dogs. And part of the data looked negative. Dogs experiencing intense stimulation showed elevated heart rates, increased pacing, and disrupted resting behavior immediately afterward. At first glance, it looked unhealthy. But then researchers noticed something strange. Dogs allowed to physically release tension through play-like movement recovered faster, physiologically, than dogs prevented from moving freely. Lower cortisol recovery times, faster relaxation markers, reduced prolonged stress responses. And yet, from the outside, those dogs looked crazier. How is that possible? Because calmness and regulation are not always the same thing. Sometimes the nervous system needs completion before it can settle. Humans experience versions of this too. You cry after holding stress in all day, you pace during anxiety, you shake after fear. The body finishes what the nervous system started. And this is where it gets profound. Maybe Zoomies aren't dysfunction. Maybe they're recovery. Maybe your dog isn't losing control. Maybe they're restoring balance. And now we get to one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern canine neuroscience. In 2024, researchers studying dog-human emotional synchronization examined heart rate variability, often called HRV. HRV measures how flexibly the nervous system responds to stress and recovery. Higher synchronization between individuals often indicates emotional bonding and safety. And what they found was extraordinary. Bonded dogs and owners showed correlated stress and recovery patterns. Their nervous systems were literally influencing one another. This only happened within bonded pairs. Not strangers. Not unfamiliar humans. Their biological states synchronized. Your dog's body responds to your emotional environment constantly, which means Zoomies may sometimes represent accumulated emotional stimulation from the entire shared household atmosphere, not just the dog's internal state. Your stress, your excitement, visitors, noise, anticipation. It all builds, and suddenly your dog erupts into motion. Not randomly, systematically. And honestly, once you understand the science, Zoomies stop looking silly. They start looking incredibly intelligent. And it might be the most important part of this video. If your dog has always experienced normal Zoomies after baths, excitement, or play, and one day they suddenly stop completely, don't brush it off. Dogs are creatures of behavioral patterns. When deeply established behaviors disappear overnight, there's usually a reason. Sometimes it's environmental. A new pet at a schedule change, household tension, loss of stimulation. But sometimes it's physical. Joint pain, arthritis, neurological discomfort. In many dogs, reduced spontaneous movement becomes one of the earliest signs of pain long before limping appears. And in older dogs, behavioral flattening can sometimes signal cognitive decline. Research from the University of California, Davis estimates that cognitive dysfunction affects up to 35% of senior dogs over certain ages. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is the only way they can tell you something changed. So don't just notice what your dog does. Notice what they stop doing, because that matters too. So the next time your dog suddenly explodes through the hallway at 10 p.m. like a furry tornado, the next time they sprint in circles after a bath, bounce off the couch, and skid across the kitchen floor with wild eyes and total chaos, remember what's actually happening. You may be watching 15,000 years of evolution, a nervous system designed to co-regulate with humans, and a deeply biological stress release mechanism shared across mammals. Not random behavior, not stupidity, not just hyper. A body releasing emotion the way nature designed it to. And honestly, the science suggests your dog might be emotionally healthier because they do it. And most owners have no idea. If this changed the way you see your dog's Zoomies, subscribe to Mindful Paws and drop a comment below. I want to know, when does your dog get the Zoomies most? And if you want to understand why your dog suddenly stares at you in silence for long periods of time, that's the next video. And the science behind it is even stranger than you'd expect.